astute, educational, incredibly handsome co-host, none other than Matt Soulard, aka King Sliz. Sliz, say hello, my friend.
How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling like non-creative these days because the kid is like sapping me of energy. So I didn't have like a super fancy intro for you today, but
Hey,
it's going.
the last month of me being eligible for the 30 under 30 list.
Wow,
So
there you go.
there you go. You
Happy
can
birthday
throw
coming
that.
up.
You can continue to throw that in the tag for about a couple other weeks.
Wow. Very, very excited for you to join the 30 club for us old heads like me, old 32 years old. But that's exciting. We'll do a Sliz birthday extravaganza. It'll be a good time. It'll be a
Oh
fun
yeah.
time. So Sliz, it's been an interesting preseason to say the least. It's very calm. It's pretty much been devoid of drama. I'll say this. I mean, I understand, you have your opinions on Joe Douglas and I have my opinions on Joe Douglas, but I will say it feels nice to debate the back end of this roster and not, oh my God, we're starting Jermaine Curse, right? Like it just feels nice to like wonder who the 53rd man is and not like the 10th man on the depth chart. So, as we're winding down preseason, as we get into the runway rundown, any thoughts on what's happened so far? It seemed pretty, I think sanitized is the best word for it.
I mean, Hard Knocks is in town. It's been a circus. There's been a distraction everywhere. No, I mean it's been good, right? Like, and we'll get into the details of stuff, but it really does feel like having a true put together veteran quarterback has kind of just levelized the entire organization, right?
Right.
And that's what you'd hope you'd get. And I know going back to the offseason and what is Rodgers? Is he committed? He's got all this baggage in Green Bay. And it's like, man, anytime you get a One Jets Drive clip, a social media clip, a hard knocks clip, you get focusing in on him on the sideline in the preseason. It's like this dude, he's been probably more than even Nick Yankee fan, the biggest Rodgers fan in the server. He's got to be giving you more than anyone expected in terms of just what he is doing with this organization, being kind of the heartbeat, and everyone's going as Rodgers is going. And yeah, sterile is a good way to put it.
Yep.
There's nothing that's really kind of freaking you out, and really, especially even since this last preseason game, the first couple of days of this week, it feels like things are starting to piece together, coming together.
Yeah. I think a big part of that, and we're going to get into this a little bit today, the whole Mekhi Becton saga, it's very interesting, right? Because I think all of us, myself included, I mean, I'm a huge Becton apologist for a number of reasons, but I'm still holding my breath, right? Like, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop at some point with this guy. But, and I understand he's got his off the field thing, his attitude, and the Twitter, and blocking you and all that stuff. But like, you got to feel a little good, I guess, is the best way to put it, about him moving forward, his attitude. Like, he moved over to right tackle. Like, he's played well at right tackle, seemingly. I mean, I know he's beaten up on jobbers for the most part, and this week's going to be the true test, I think, if he's starting a preseason game versus the Giants. But your thoughts on Becton so far? Because it's been, I want to say, encouraging, but it still kind of feels, like I said, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, I think they're with fan criticism, especially in a season like this where there's more reason to be hyped than ever about the Jets, right? Even
Right.
more, I think, than those Rex Ryan teams, right? Where we have a stud quarterback, we have a top 5 defense, you have a lot of young weapons, even on the offensive side of the ball, that you feel excited about. And as you kind of bring all that together, any sense of negativity tries to get stomped out in every corner, right? And so I think sometimes like criticism of moves, criticism of specific players gets taken to that extreme where it's like, man, why do you hate Mekhi? I don't hate Mekhi Becton, right? No, I I think that gets misunderstood where it's like, man, I am not going to be upset when if Mekhi balls out, if he returns to kind of rookie form, which is weird to say, refer to rookie form. But if he gives us that and he gives us that for an extended stint over the course of the season, man, that is awesome, because the reality is Mekhi Becton at right tackle going into the offseason was always the ideal outcome. It's whether or not we would actually get there. I think seeing kind of him in the Rodgers discussion, his presser, recording Tuesday night, and Mekhi had a presser today, and he was kind of speaking on the mental side and how it's been tough, and he's really grown and being on injury reserve. And you hear that a lot when guys are on injury reserve, and Rodgers was speaking to it and how you kind of can get isolated from the team and what that just does to your morale, your mental. And again, kind of what I was puffing up Rodgers for, really kind of getting his arm around Mekhi, sitting down, eating lunch with them, getting them bought in. And you just hope it continues, right? Like
right.
You kind of expect maybe that other shoe to drop. I think the Rich Cimini report is kind of weird in that, not the content so much, but just the timing, right? Yeah. Where you had really the whole first portion of the offseason where you have Rich Cimini, you have Connor Hughes, you have Zach Blatt, all having Mekhi not making the 53-man roster. And then you have the Rich Cimini report on ESPN saying, well, this was kind of the plan with Mekhi all along, working with his individual doctors, coordinating with the team, and all these snap limits and such are really just part of his ramp up. It's like the timing of that just feels a little bit weird. Like when you read it, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why didn't we know about this at the start of the offseason? Why wasn't that a question that was asked? Why wasn't that something that Robert Saleh offered up to kind of protect his guy?
Right.
Criticism all along the way. Why did they let what? And I think everyone's a little bit at fault here, which just kind of, it makes me a little weirded out just by the timing of it, right? Why did Mekhi let himself get beat up for a month and change on this? Why did Saleh let Mekhi get beat up? Why did the beat not ask? Is that part of the ramp up?
Right.
I don't know. That's I think maybe the biggest thing giving me pause, but maybe it's kind of one of those tough love things where it's like, hey, he's got to earn it, and he's got to deal with criticism too.
Yeah, I mean the thing with Mekhi, before I want to read the quote real quick, but the thing with Mekhi too is, like, to your point, Sliz, I mean, the thing about this team that I both appreciate and I don't appreciate sometimes is, like, Robert Saleh is very much a guy like, yes, you have to earn it. And I respect that. I really do, because I think you separate the boys from the men in that type of situation, right? Because you have guys that, they're going to have to love football, and they're going to have to want to stay on the field, and they're going to have to do everything they possibly can to protect themselves and stay on the field, right? So I can appreciate that. But on the other hand, I'm like, we're not at a position where we can be playing those games too. You know what I mean? Like, we need to know who the starting five on this offensive line is going to be, and we're going to need it fast, because this team cannot afford to go through the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season trying to gel, trying to figure out this offensive line.
A tough opening too.
Exactly.
Right? We don't have the feel it out games in the front half of the year. Before the bye is tough. That's about as tough a schedule as you'll have in this league.
And I understand that the whole, it's not how you start, it's how you finish type deal. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't want to, the vibes have to be good coming out, right? Like, this team has to play with swagger, and having Mekhi on the line starting is a big part of that. So I want to bring up this quote today that Rodgers had on Mekhi. This is a pretty meaty quote. I like Mekhi a lot. This is from Rodgers. I like Mekhi a lot. This is a long quote. He's a guy that, like all of us, we want to feel like we belong. We want to feel like we're part of this thing, part of the group, whether by his own doing or just the way things fell. He might not have felt that way, and that's normal. When you're on injured reserve, and I've been a couple times, it's a tough place to be. You feel isolated from the team. You're not traveling as much. You're not in the meetings. So I think it's been a conscious effort by all of us to make him feel like he's part of this thing. He's so talented. He's humongous, and he's athletic for a man who's 6'8", 350. I'm excited about seeing him out there. He's a big teddy bear on the inside. I'm enjoying getting to know him. He's a fierce competitor on the field, and I'm excited about having him out there. Listen, I understand that Rodgers is going to be the guy to try and make good on this team, because that's been his whole MO since he's been here, right? Is to try and be that consummate teammate. He's done it with Zach. He's done it with Mekhi, putting his arm around him during that preseason game. I want to say it was last week, and then inviting him out to lunch, which, the last year that would have been a bad idea, inviting Mekhi Becton out to lunch. But, you hope that that's a really positive thing for Mekhi. And, Mekhi said as much. He said, this relationship feels surreal. right? And the point we had it small with Run and a few others had a small debate about that today. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with Mackay feeling that way when his NFL career was essentially on a deathbed when you think about it.
Oh
Because
yeah.
he's a guy that he's 6'8, he was 400 pounds, he's coming off of back-to-back knee injuries. The team seemingly did everything it could to not want to start him last year, and the training camp vibes were bad, capital B bad with him last year, period. So whether that was his weight or whether that was he was just getting beat up or his just everything about his knee. So it's cool to see him rebound. I'm really pulling for him, and make no mistake, we all need to be pulling for him because he's the key here. Billy
Oh yeah.
Turner's not your guy. Max Mitchell's not your guy. I'm sorry. But I think Vid Stuff said it the best the other day. Billy Turner as a backup, veteran presence, can get you through a game in a pinch, fine off the bench, good depth piece, right? I mean, I know I crap on the depth a lot, but good depth piece is your right tackle. Billy Turner as a starter, below league average, not a good idea. You're going to have a bad time. So, I mean, you're shooting for the potential here over anything else, but this team needs Mackay to be good, and it's nice to see that it's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and especially getting him on the right side. It's hard to picture a better duo to run the ball behind than Mackay and AVT, right?
Right.
Like two guys that are going to smack you in the mouth. I don't know why you'd ever run to the left
No,
if you can avoid it with those two guys on the right side. So, I mean, it'll be a big boost. If nothing else, a massive boost in the run game, and running backs still don't matter. And what you're doing up front does. And Mackay moving his D end all the way across the line and ending up on the left guard, that matters. Running
listen,
backs do not. So
listen.
that'll be a big impact. And I'm hoping Mackay will make it wearing the 2020 draft cap, one of the few draft caps actually worth getting. I'm hoping Mackay's making it so that this isn't the only thing that was good that came from that draft. So we'll
Yeah,
see. It's in Mackay's ball court, man.
it really is. It really is. I'm really pulling for him, man. I'm really pulling for him. But elsewhere on the team, so Zach Wilson is going to be a pretty constant storyline throughout the preseason, right? I mean, it's going to be, whatever it is about Zach, everything his performances are going to be dissected from every which way. QB School is going to put out 15-hour breakdowns on 3 Zach Wilson throws. So, Liz, any thoughts on how Wilson played in this last preseason start versus Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely you felt pretty good out of that Carolina game. This was kind of more the Zach Wilson we know, and that's not a positive. A lot of balls behind targets, a lot of balls a little bit late. Location wasn't awesome. He had the exciting run that kind of hypes you up, but
When you look at the all 22, or you look at the not the all 22, but behind, you see a receiver running free up the seam, and he
yeah,
had his guy beat with nobody there by about two or 3 yards. So it's like,
yeah,
you know,
you don't love this one. It kind of reminds you like, hey, let's press the pause button. He didn't change overnight. It's a
right.
process, and he's working in the background.
Zach
That's
is
the biggest thing.
Zach is very much it is what it is,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like,
you can really tell like in the Hard Knocks clips and stuff. And now that he kind of gets to take a back seat, I think you see a little bit more of his personality in some of
mhm,
the clips and stuff that are shared. Man, and I don't I guess I mean this as I'm going to say he's a little kid, right? He's still a kid, and you can tell in the way that he carries himself, kind of the little quips and jokes he throws at Rogers, and he's a kid. He's still growing up.
yep,
He's got to continue to build on it, put together.
yeah. I think the thing too with Zach is like, you want this to be a learning experience for him and not a fantasy camp,
Yeah,
right? I think like it's really cool that he's getting to play with Rogers. That came out wrong, but whatever. It's cool that he's getting to learn from Rogers and sit behind Rogers, but you don't want him to lose sight of like Rogers is here, he's the starter, and this is an opportunity for him to learn, right?
yeah,
And I definitely have seen positive. I think there's been more positive than negative. I mean, if you want to call it a 51-49 thing or 60-40, whatever. I think there's been more positive than negative with Zach this preseason altogether. What I don't want to see is Zach turn into hero ball Zach, which I feel like hasn't necessarily been there. Like I don't think he's been forcing things, but you want to see the accuracy come around. You want to see him making the smart reads, which generally he's done. But it is what it is with Zach at this point.
I think maybe less what he's doing, more what the dudes behind him are doing. Zach is clearly QB2.
Yes.
Right. He's clearly the next guy up.
Yep. So, this brings me to a conversation that I've had with you off to the side, Sliz, and it really seems like Mike LaFleur was kind of a disaster, right? Hindsight's 2020. It just feels like the vibe around the offense is better. And I know that's a lot of that is Rodgers, but I think credit has to go to Nathaniel Hackett too. You hear about his energy all the time. You hear about, he might be a little goofy over the top, but it feels like they have an offensive coordinator that, I don't know if believe in is the right word, but certainly almost feels like he knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah, I think this kind of lends to the side of football that you can't, as a fan, tangibly see or taste or get a real feel for, is the locker room culture, the just belief and communication in your guys and such, and the Rodgers quote with Becton's a good example of that, right? Whether it's Mike LaFleur, whether it's Zach Wilson, I don't think either of those guys is doing that with Mekhi, right? And it just kind of rallying the troops, really taking the arrows for their guys, building up the offense, building up the culture. And granted, when you're a dude like Rodgers, you immediately get the respect, right? It's easy to do that when you're a proven commodity. When you have a bunch of young guys all trying to find their way, you get misses, right? Yeah. And I think I still hang my hat on. I think play design, X's and O LaFleur is totally fine. I think the ability of his quarterback and otherwise maybe limited some of the execution of those X's and O's. But yeah, I mean, between losing the quarterback coach prior to the season that was supposed to be our veteran guy, the calm voice in the room to kind of help level set everything, probably just putting together too young of a staff beyond that. Not truly having a veteran QB, right? If you remember, we didn't have Joe Flacco in the room to start. We kind of panic traded for him mid-season and paid I'll say relative premium for that. I think you're kind of seeing the importance of actually building a staff, building a locker room, and not just turning the keys over to a ton of young guys, right? And going back, that's why a lot of Jets discord and whether or not he was truly available, I think is maybe in debate. But that's why a dude like Brian Daboll was so coveted by fans going into that cycle. You need to get quarterback right. You need a guy that's been around a few spots, a guy that's worked with quarterbacks, and a guy that can command respect with a proven track record on that side of the ball.
Listen, can Brian Daboll give me another year before we start blowjobbing him all over the place, man? Like, I don't know another way to put it. So I'm sorry if we lose our I'm sorry if we lose our clean rating on Apple Podcasts because I just said that, but like, it's gone way too far in the other direction now. I think it's just gone way too far.
Hey man, he made Daniel Jones look good in a preseason game.
I understand
he's playing the rock, man. He's the GOAT now.
He was playing with half a deck last year. I get it, but like, you know who else didn't look too bad in his first year as a head coach? Ben McAdoo. And I'm not comparing the two because I think Daboll just has generally a better feel and he knows what he's doing. But I'm just saying, like, can we give a guy another year before we anoint him? Like,
wasn't anointing him. Just speaking
you're anointing. It feels like you're anointing.
Speaking to the contrast.
All right.
Where
that's fine. I don't know.
You want some veteran voices in the offensive room
for sure.
Is the big deal. We have that this year with Rodgers, with Hackett, so on. I mean, I think that kind of gets forgotten, right? It's not only those two we added, and I think Todd Downing was probably a bottom two offensive coordinator last year, right? On the Titans, but still a veteran guy, play calling experience. He's at a lower rung here. You bring over another veteran offensive line coach. You brought in a lot of veteran guys as opposed to kind of a young upstart offensive group. And I think it's palpable when you watch the interactions among teammates that the culture is there.
Right. So this one from Simsema, I guess I don't even know if I'm ever saying that right. So correct me in the chat. But Here's a good point. I mean, need to see Jones repeat before we anoint Dayball, and it's not even like a matter of repeat. It's a matter of like, can he be better?
Can he
Because
progress?
yeah, because like last year he threw like, and I get again, he threw 15 touchdown passes last year, and I get like he was throwing to nobodies at the end of the season for the most part, but like this wasn't exactly an explosive offense by any stretch. Was it? Did it exceed expectations for the talent that they had? Sure. Like, I'll give them credit for that, but now it's got to be more. Like, it has to be better. And I don't know if they even have the pieces for that yet. So it's like,
Note to self: do not bring up Brian Dable on the podcast with
I
Joe.
don't, I just like, it's not that I hate Brian Dable. I just like, I feel
No,
like
hey,
it's swung too far in one
you're
direction.
in New York media, so I get it. I don't deal with it on a day-to-day basis. I just sit back and observe football, right? I get to listen to Colts fans complain about Jonathan Taylor.
I just like it's swung too far in the other direction now. Like this guy's Belichick all of a sudden. It's like, all right, can we just pump the brakes a little bit? But you know, it's neither here nor there. Excuse me. So another few things that came out of the preseason game, Sliz, before we move on to our Top Gun and then our Limerick contest, which I'm very excited about. Injuries, unfortunately, they happen. Thankfully, it looks like we dodged major bullets. Both Joe Tippmann had a knee injury, but he's expected to be ready by week 1, according to Robert Saleh. And Izzy Abanikanda, who it looked really bad at first. Like, it looked like, I understand that he banged his knee, but it looked like maybe it was a non-contact thing that led into the bang of the knee, but just a thigh injury. So he's expected to miss a couple weeks. See you week 3, maybe. Hopefully he can rebound. But injuries, they suck, man. They suck.
Yeah, they do. I mean, thankfully, even like the diagnosis sounds good. The it seems like a quick turnaround available for week 1, and this is kind of why you're maybe a little cautious playing your starters. At the end of the day, Joe Tippmann and Izzy probably aren't pivotal, dictating success of our season type guys.
Right.
I think you hope that they grow into that, if not by midseason, certainly into next year. But for the 2023 run, it's not the end of the world, but they'll be available. So that's where, yeah, kind of the debate. Do you play your starters? Do you rest your starters? How long? This is why.
I wasn't necessarily buying into the Tippmann was gonna start hype either. Like I just don't think he was gonna start above McGovern. I just never saw that because I think Rodgers truly, and this offense really truly values having a veteran center, and we know that Rodgers is the master of the hard count. He's the master of manipulating snap counts. It's just what he does, and having a rookie center under there, in addition to calling out different protections, and I just don't think that would have gelled well with Rodgers. I don't know. So,
well, and I think
hard for me to see that.
Yeah, we have this Hard Knocks bullet to get to, but one of the things that jumped out in Hard Knocks was just how, I'll say, specific Rodgers was about his snaps.
Yes.
Right? No spin.
Just loft it to me.
Yeah, just loft it. Just, and he wants it the way he wants it. And if you're not giving it the way he wants it, then you're on the shit list, right? And,
right. Oh, I gotta edit that now, man.
You heard me stutter over it. I was like, man, nope, not a different word in the vocab for this one. But I mean, it's true. And I think, to your point, I think this definitely puts to bed Tippmann being pushing for a week 1 starter. Never mind. It would be hard, you would think, in this opening stretch for him to get that job before the bye. Maybe a post-bye move if McGovern's struggling or so on and so forth. But man, are you going to throw a rookie center in when we're getting to Kansas City and you have potentially not Chris Jones lining up on the other side?
Yep.
Right? Probably not. Yeah. And I think, was it Tippmann that had the bad snap in the game as well?
Yeah. There's a few of them. So
yeah. So yeah, I think that is one battle that maybe is resolved or isn't going to be flipped in kind of the closing stages of camp here.
I think it was a matter of like there was trust that he was definitely coming on, and having him like off the bench would have been like a viable option if someone gets hurt. I just don't buy that he was going to start before McGovern. I 100% don't buy that he was going to start before Lakin. I'll say that, because a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, is he going to start at left guard?" And like, no, his Lakin's contract tells you he's not starting at left guard unless like if Lakin is brutally bad again this year, like he was last year, which I don't think will be the case, or at least I hope it won't be the case. Then maybe you pull that trigger during the season, but then you're just entering a whole new world of chaos with the offensive line, right? And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, here we go again. So it's like, we'll see, but I wasn't buying that. Speaking of offensive line, Sliz, this is one that's been hotly debated. There's a clear divide between Jets Twitter and smart Jets people on this, I'd say, and that's Jason Peters. Jason Peters, free agent. You know, he's 137 years old. He's just about as old as Dwayne Brown, coming off a pretty average season with the Cowboys, maybe below average. So he was on Good Morning Football today, and there was a quote. He says, he was asked about potentially helping out the Jets, and he says, "They give me the call, I'm going to show up and show out. That's what I do. I'm a straight professional when it comes to that. Helping the young guys. If they want me to sit, I'll sit." You want Jason Peters, Sliz?
Man, if you stash him as a veteran on the practice squad, sure. I don't I don't think you're clearing a roster spot for him. I don't think he's better than Billy Turner at this stage, right? So it's okay. He's offensive tackle 4. Are you dumping Mitchell for him? Probably not. If you had a major injury, or if Mekhi was looking like, week 1 of preseason Mekhi, maybe you consider triggering that. If, hey, we're in doomsday and Billy Turner's going to be starting tackle and maybe Dwayne Brown's not looking like he's going to be ready for the season, that's maybe when you press the panic button and push him in. But without getting one of these guys on IR, I don't think the math makes sense. And like I said, if he wants to be here and we can bring him in on a vet min and stash him on the practice squad, that there's no downside to that in my mind, right?
Give him the Joe Douglas veteran minimum, 2 years, $24 million. I know I'm recycling a joke.
Man.
The Joe Douglas ring chaser minimum.
Hey, I still think the Vinny Curry contract was just a write-off, a tax write-off for Woody, right?
Doing good by a guy, I guess. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. So Liz, last thing we have here in the runway rundown before we move on to Top Gun and the Limerick contest. So Hard Knocks has been a thing. I've watched both episodes of Hard Knocks. I think it's been generally fine. Like it's been, if you're not a Jets fan, I could see you not liking it. This is very much like Jets fan content, right? Because it's very much like good vibes, no drama. It's Roger. It's the Aaron Rodgers show. Like
you can tell it's very curated versus previous years.
It's definitely like Hard Knocks has been trending that way for a while. Like I want to say like the last, and Spencer pointed this out, the last real drama on Hard Knocks was Hugh Jackson, head coach of the Browns, the year that they were on Hard Knocks, and he was just very much like he didn't do himself any favors on that in that season. But like Hard Knocks has shifted from like real behind the scenes stuff to now it's very much like sanitized NFL propaganda in a lot of ways. Like good for a highlight video, people laughing on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, but it's not like dramatic. It's not, there's no drama there. So I'm fine with it. It's an entertaining watch. It's not bad.
Get some magic shows. You get the quarterback room teaching Rodgers some cinema.
How the hell? Two things. How the hell did he do the goldfish thing, man? How did he do that goldfish thing?
Let's see. Whoever made that comment of like, dude, what if you said giraffe?
I don't know how he did that goldfish thing. It was pretty crazy. And 2, shame on anybody for not watching Airplane. Have you seen Airplane, Sliz?
I have.
Okay, good. So I don't have to kick you off this podcast. So that's good. I love Airplane. Airplanes, I had this conversation with some buddies of mine. I feel like Airplanes might be the funniest movie of all time. Because it's aged well for being like a 50-year-old movie, 40-year-old movie now.
Yeah, I can buy that.
It's like every line is a one-liner, and it's not like there are very few references to like those times in the movie. So like it holds up well. I could quote Airplane all day. It's a funny movie.
I buy it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Hard Knocks is good. I think you get, like I said, you get some insight, I think, especially to the Rodgers relationship, the Rodgers tendencies that certainly we whooped on Carolina, which was
Mhm.
nice to kind of see play out, right?
Yep.
Um, Curious to see. I think this week will shed a little more light on some stuff.
Mhm.
I'm waiting for the Mackay segment.
Yep.
Maybe it's all been part of the script by big NFL to get the Mackay kicker in week 4, week 5 here.
I
But
was gonna say, Mackay probably blocked them out from whatever, cameras, is what it is. But speaking of Mackay Beckinsale, let's move on to this week's Top Gun. And you know what? I'm gonna give the guy his flowers, and I picked him this week. Mackay Becton. He's just listen. I understand had the whole "I am a left tackle" tweet. The vibes weren't necessarily great before training camp. Yes, he is. I am a right tackle now, right? I am a right tackle. But the vibes are much better now, and to see him totally job out Hamilcar Rashad on and pancake block, I'm like, that was good stuff, man. Like, and you get to see like him manhandling people. I understand everybody's like, oh, well, they're second and third stringers, which is fine. He's doing what he's supposed to do against second and third stringers. So this week is the real test. This week,
oh yeah,
if depending on who the Giants throw out there as their starters on defense, this is the true test for him. And if Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be playing, like, we'll see. We'll see, But I'm going to give Mackay his props. He came into camp in shape. We know that there was some concerns after that first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, and the turf, and pulling himself out of the game. But he seems to have grown in confidence, and for that, I have to give him credit. I think it's only fair, right? For how much people have trashed him for years, I think it's only right that we give the guy his flowers for at least trying to turn his career around.
yeah. His snap share's growing. He made I think the mental jump to the right side, and I think you've kind of seen what I think myself and some others have been saying all along, right? Like Mackay is not he's not a savant of tackle play. He's not a finesse tackle. It doesn't matter whether he's right or left side, right? He's just gonna maul dudes and chuck them into the dirt, right? So making the switch to right side, it's not a big deal. Certainly his pass sets and working in space a little bit is gonna be a little bit tougher, but his strength is being bigger than everyone else and having more length than everyone else, right? And you see that show up anytime he gets consistent reps. And
When he gets his hands on you, man, he just takes care of you, and that's the key for him. And that's why he's had problem with speed rushers in years past. It's like he just got to get his hands out there. He's got to get the punch out there. So,
oh yeah, yeah, and getting a dude like Hamilcar who spent some time in Jets camp
right,
while Mackay's been here. That's got to kind of give him just mentally like, hey, I know this guy. I can beat this guy. I can dominate this guy. Just it's baby steps, right? You just keep building the confidence, keep building it. He's at the lunch table now with Rodgers. They have I guess an annual or a weekly thing set up now. He's at the lunch table, man.
Yep.
He's made it.
Yep. I said it's in years past that might not have been the greatest idea, but it is what it is. I don't mean to take shots at him, but I can because I'm chubby too. So, it's fine. All right, so let's get into this. This is our preseason contest, Limerick contest, man. I am hyped for this.
Hey, we got some good submissions.
We got some good submissions, man. We're gonna read them all. We're gonna give some credit, and whoever wins, I'm gonna give out 3 jerseys for the 3 best ones because we have some. Listen, the jet fuel budget runs deep these days, so I'm gonna give out some jerseys for the 3 best ones. So let's go through them as from Jets Core. This is good stuff. So this first one was from Crimp Shimp, and this was an early favorite. I love this. So let's read them out.
Yeah, first submission in, and he basically ended the contest right away, right?
All right. So this one's from Crimp. My Jets are all in, as they should. With Rodgers, I expect will be good. The fan base is sold. Expectations of gold. Sadly, our GM's made of wood. That's good, man.
That's good.
That's some good stuff. That's good. Shout out to Crimp. That was really good. And you know what? That got the contest off really in a good way. So, all right. So this next one from Salad Face / Google.
Who submitted about a dozen or so, by the way.
Yeah, give or take. I think he found a new gimmick. So this is entertaining stuff. But man, this is just one per user, please, Google. So you're just gonna go with the first one you did. But all right, this one's from Google. The Jets were a team full of swagger. Their records expected to shatter. But wouldn't Joe D just never could see that running backs do not matter? That's good. That's
Preach.
good. That's a good one. I would have added that running backs simply don't matter. I think that flows a little better for the Limerick style. But it was good. This is another good one. And now he just can't stop with the Limericks. So I blame myself for unleashing this monster onto the world. But
for those that listen and don't spend time in Jets Discord, you can tell that Wooden and Golden Joe isn't just a bit we made up for this podcast. It is fully ingrained in culture.
It is. It is. So it's all fun and games, until he signs another running back. From Nick Yankee fan, this one was quite a mouthful. There once was a team called the Jets that helped all their doubters win bets. With horrible QBs, O-lineman sans knees, and a GM with moves of wood. But then came Aaron Rodgers, who would shock the world and make the Jets real threats. That's like not a limerick, but it's some good poetry. That's like solid,
It's like some Lil Wayne bars just rhyming wood with wood.
It's quite the mouthful, but it's interesting. Jeremy has entered the chat. What's up, Jeremy? So let's see here. Here we go. This is another one that's not quite a limerick, but still fun. The Jets are on the rise with Rodgers and crew. The rest of the league will reach their demise. O-line looking weak, so on second thought, this year may be bleak. Maybe Becton is good, and we are in for a surprise. I feel like the effort is there for sure, but the execution might not.
The flow is a little lacking.
Yeah, a little bit. It's fine. All right, this one from Run. I have to admit, Sliz, maybe you understand this one better. I'm not sure I fully understood it. But
I don't know that I saw this one. I'll consume it as you read it here.
Okay, just take it in. Just take it in. Adam Gase was the coach that year. I told the media it's COVID I fear. I came back to jump or the Bills O-line. I'm a leader. It's fine. Just get me another beer.
This is, I believe, future Hall of Famer middle linebacker CJ Mosley.
Okay, gotcha.
Where he sat out the COVID year.
Okay,
he jumped on fourth down over the Bills line.
Okay.
But he's the leader of the D. He
and
had
then
that
he got
picture
another
of him
beer. He was in the bar. Okay,
the bar and the opt-out year.
All right,
yeah, it's
all right. Man, shame on me for not getting that.
It's our captain on defense, baby.
Yep, there he is, just jumping over the line.
Not a Hall of Famer as we sit today. Maybe a Super Bowl ring helps his case a lot.
Yeah, tale of two careers, and you know what? His brand of linebacker just doesn't play anymore.
Right.
That's and he's done what he can to reshape himself, right? But it's not quite there. That's all.
I will say that not to make this a CJ Mosley Hall of Fame discussion, but his biggest asset is going to be the fact that all the stud linebackers of his generation had shorter careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had like a Luke Kuechly retiring early. That helps a lot. And granted, I think Luke Kuechly is probably still potentially first ballot Hall of Fame. I don't know. That's a hard position to make it in it, but
right.
There's competition there, but the longevity will help.
I see it. Yep. All right. Hazonia. First, he likes to let us know that he had no idea that these threads existed, but Google was forcing everybody to do these limericks. So let's see. There once was a man who signed Cook, the best option when they had looked. They spent $8.6 million on a room prior filled, and the offense was read like a book. That's good. I like that. That's good. That comes out pretty good. All right.
Dalvin Cook not playing this weekend, by the way.
Still recovering. Just give him time. So he'll be ready week 1, maybe. Same old Jets on Jets Corn. What seems like almost forever. I have no doubts whatsoever. Although Rodgers has passed his peak, he's still valued like an antique. We should have tanked for Trevor. Dude, they tried. They tried.
I do not know how we have not gotten, how, what was it, Miami? Yeah, Miami with Flores had the tanking allegations and the investigation and all that. How did Jacksonville get away with it,
I
man?
don't know.
They actively benched Minshew for absolute bums,
Mhm.
absolute and they lost like 2 overtime games in
Yep.
that period. It's like, man, if they even tried, we have the golden locks flowing on
Mhm.
in green and white right now, man. But that they didn't even try.
Just how many in NFL history, how many 2-14 teams have not gotten the number 1 overall pick,
I don't
right?
think any. Yeah.
Like, what are the odds? What are the odds? They did everything right that year. They did everything right by losing. So, all right, we move on. Conspicuous looking vid stuff. So vid stuff. It's just, you can't rhyme North Jersey with North Jersey vid. I'm sorry. All right, let's read this one. There once was a man from North Jersey who thought he was winning a Jersey, but the Jets were not slacking and his limericks were lacking. Now we cry for the man from North Jersey. I just you can't rhyme North Jersey with North Jersey. You know,
At least when the prior submission had wood with wood, it was like the different word, right?
right.
Different usage. This is
Uh-huh.
just the same thing.
Yep. Yep. Good try, Vid. Almost there. You were like on the 1 yard line. Brody Man. I'm a big Brody Man fan. So Brody Man. Jermaine Johnson came into the lives of thee that nobody in here wanted to see. But he made one small change to the term, and to the surprise of a boy named Herb, he reached out to complain about dealers who plead. What?
Oh man.
What am I missing here? What am I missing here, Slims?
You don't spend enough time in Discord, man.
I
That's the
do. I
issue.
just there's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
stuff that
was
goes
when
over.
Jermaine had the Karen moment and he tweeted about the not Chrysler, the what's the GM luxury brand?
Cadillac?
Yeah, the Cadillac dealer, man. When he went Karen on Twitter about the Cadillac dealer.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes. That's a good one.
That's good. It's good now that I understand it better. Oh, George Orr. Here we go. Everybody's favorite. this this one is very much not a limerick, but it's
and
still
you
good.
see in the bottom right corner he edited it. And so it's just classic George Orr fashion, just all over the place, when it comes to his literacy. But
I feel like
that's all right.
this is more like a Hindu proverb than it is a limerick. All right. In the concrete jungles lies a man with a touch of gold, a Hall of Fame quarterback with weapons galore. Yet there is land of men who don't appreciate these moves. Despite these schmucks, the green and white will win it all.
Definitely not a limerick, but I got a chuckle about out of that one.
I don't even know what George Orr was going for. I appreciate the effort. That's good stuff, man.
He's saying that Jet scored are a bunch
Yes.
of haters and Golden Joe's delivering the Lombardi. That's what he's saying.
That's what he thinks. That's friend of JD. It says it right there. That George Orr, man. All right. This one's from Spencer. Fire JD, Spencer W. There was an old man made of wood who did what no Jet GM should. CJ Mosley, Becton, and Cook, every move against the book. Completely disastrous and misunderstood. It's not bad. It's pretty good. I feel like I would take out the CJ, like Mosley, Becton, and Cook would have flowed a little bit better, but it's good. It's pretty good.
Chris Ballard walked so that Joe Douglas could run. That's all I'm saying.
Remember when everybody was praising Chris Ballard for Darius Leonard? Right? Because that was the pick that they got in the Sam Darnold trade, which is fine because like Darnold was a bomb.
That was a good draft, right? Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith, Darius Leonard, all in the same draft. Like that's a good draft.
Yeah,
it's a good draft. But paying all of them, not so great.
Yeah. So we actually got from Alexandro in the Jets Discord email on the Gmail account.
Ooh.
So from out west on the West Coast. I appreciate this. This is awesome. So shout out to Alexandro for this. Let's see here. There's a Jets cornerback nicknamed Sauce. Cover skills so good he shut down Randy Moss. Wears a crown made of cheese, brings pro receivers to their knees. On Sundays, he shows the NFL who's boss.
Man,
That's not
He
bad.
fired, he took the time to fire up the email and he
Yeah, man.
delivered. He
This is
delivered. That's good.
you know what? I'm going to call it now. I'm saying that Alexander is getting a Jets jersey.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
I'm
That's
saying it because
I'm guessing it might be a number one Gardner jersey potentially.
potentially, yeah, it could be. You know, it's up to him. But like, you know, I want to say this is the first time that anyone's actually ever emailed us
Yeah.
on the Jets Discord Gmail account. So like that, I feel gets you a jersey. But that was good.
He not only went through the effort, but he delivered, man.
That was good. That was good. That was a good contest. Liz, you have any personal favorites from that? I think Alexandra gets one. I'm not sure who the other two go to. I feel like Crimp's got to get one, right?
I mean,
Because that was like
Crim
he set the bar.
set the bar right out the gate.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way I'm giving Georgia one, but that one made me crack up.
Let's go back to the Georgia one real quick because that was good stuff, man. I'm gonna read this one again because this is like I wish I had like a Morgan Freeman voice modulator so I could read this, but it's good. In the concrete jungles lies a man with a touch of gold, a Hall of Fame quarterback with weapons galore. Yet there is a land of men who don't appreciate these moves. Despite these schmucks, the green and white will win it all.
Like, there's not a single rhyme in that entire thing. The only thing he got right was having five lines to it.
Yep. I think the kicker for me is like he gets to the last line and it's like classic George Orr. Like everyone despite these schmucks. Like that's great stuff. Classic George Orr.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah,
George
we might have to go under the hood and take it to review for number 3.
Yeah, yeah. We'll announce the winners of the contest soon enough, at least for the third jersey. But that was good, man. That was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for participating in the jersey contest. It's it's always a good time. It's when we do these contests and we'll probably have one middle of the season too. So thank you guys again for participating. Really appreciate it. And winners officially to come. All right, so let's move on to this week's Geek of the Week. And you know what? It's not someone who plays for the Jets. It's somebody who's been catching a lot of W's this week for making us all laugh, but also someone who caught a massive L, and that's Google, man. Salad face, like, dude, nobody. And listen, Salad face is a good dude, but making your girlfriend sit through Jets preseason games, man, especially like, listen, if you're catching the opening drives or the opening quarter to like see what the backups look like, okay, maybe even watch a little bit into the second quarter because the first quarter is a running clock. It goes by pretty quick. But like, if you're sitting there in the fourth quarter, dude, watching Tim Boyle throw interceptions and like the rest of it, like just looking inept. What's wrong with you, bro?
Actively freaking out about the offensive line. And like, it was like third quarter, man. Like, I'm totally checked out. Everyone's checked out. Or just like kind of just shooting the crap in Discord. And he's like, oh, no, my girlfriend's pissed. She wants to watch a show. And I got the preseason game on. I'm like, dude, turn it off.
I'm telling you, man. I shout out to my wife because she's been incredible while having our child, and really taking care of Remy. But like, I wouldn't make her sit through it. I didn't make her sit through this weekend's game. Like, I understand that it's like preseason's not fun. It's only for the sickos, right? It's only for the guys who run podcasts who have like 10 listeners like us. But like, I don't know, man. Like, don't make your girlfriend sit through this. So. Salaface, you are this week's Geek of the Week. I feel like he might be the first Discord user to win Geek of the Week. I'm not entirely sure, but it sounds right. So,
hey, we have a quote in the chat there from the man himself. This one's worth throwing up.
In the third quarter, she asked me when the football season. Come on, man. In the third quarter, she asked me when the football season ends. Listen, it's just getting started, apparently, if you're in a relationship with Google. It's just getting started. My goodness. That's Google. Shout out to you for catching in a massive win and also an L this week. Like, that's impressive stuff. It really is. All right, so let's move on. This is the
I got a bonus Geek of the Week.
Ooh, let's do it.
I did not confirm the validity. I saw some of the aggregators putting it together. Apparently Lizzo, who's been catching a lot of L's in his Geek a Week in her own right, said that Dalvin Cook was her man on the Minnesota Vikings. I do not know the validity of these claims, if it's just aggregator clickbait. Any thoughts?
I don't know if I'm more disappointed in like Lizzo dating Dalvin Cook or you for bringing up Lizzo on this podcast. I'm really not sure, to be honest.
Hey, the people want pop culture clickbait.
It's
that's what I've been told.
Yeah, there it is. It's hard to. That's the zingy brain of the fandom. There. Let's give me more pop culture. Let's find a way to get Taylor Swift in this next episode. Okay. Maybe we'll get some more listeners. But I don't know, man. I mean, Dalvin Cook's already a Geek of the Week for. I feel like he's going to be a multi-time winner this year.
Like Spence was saying in the chat, Lizzo should know running backs don't matter.
Shout out to Spencer. Lizzo should know running backs don't matter. That's good. All right, so let's move on. Let's look ahead. This is the flight plan. So preseason week 4. Lots of teams don't have 4 preseason games anymore. We had the pleasure of having the Hall of Fame game, so we got a 4th game on the slate. And listen, we have been incredibly fortunate to avoid major injury, and this game scares the crap out of me. I'm kind of in the fuzzy stoner camp where I'm like, listen, Rodgers doesn't need to play, and it almost feels like you're asking for trouble. But preseason week 4 against the Giants, Liz, what are you looking forward to? What's the vibe heading into this matchup?
Have one good drive and get everyone out of there, right?
That's it, right? That's it.
All you want, right? And I'm fine. I'm fine with him playing, right? Like, the dude knows his body. The dude knows his routine. He's been active all camp. I'm fine. If he wants the bow on the preseason and to get a drive, probably just a drive in, it's fine. I think the bigger deal, more so than Rodgers playing, is we got AVT and Lakin that look like they're going to be suiting up. You'll have what we hope will be our starting offensive line. TBD if Dwayne Brown's going to play, but as we got kind of breaking news right before we fired up the pod here tonight, he did get cleared from his doctor down in Houston. So he's flying up back to One Jets Drive, and he's got to go through his Jets physical, but trending positive there. Certainly, you probably don't anticipate him playing this week, but maybe looking good for week 1, which is kind of what they've said all along, but it's always one of those you want to see it before you really buy into it sort of deals. So 4 out of 5 potential starters, and you probably throw Billy Turner out there at left.
Yeah.
You want to see the O-line continue to gel.
I feel like the Dwayne Brown thing, I'm going to say it's been overblown because I think everybody knew that he was going to get healthy. He's very much on that veteran plan of like, listen, just get preseason. It doesn't matter for you. Like, go hang out in Houston, take care of your body, do what you got to do. Like, don't do anything stupid, like don't go trying to bench 550 pounds, like, and then you can show up when you want to show up. Right. Like I want to say, I don't like it all the time, but I feel like he's earned that right. Especially as an offensive lineman, he's done a lot of good things in this league. So, I'm fine with it, but I hope he plays sooner rather than later, because like I said, I do think there's a lot to be said about an offensive line gelling and learning to play together. And you have, Dwayne Brown, Lakin, McGovern are all veterans. AVT plays like a veteran. Becton is coming. So like, you need these guys to play well. You need them to play well, and you need them to play together and get that chemistry going. So, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We just stay healthy, man. Just stay healthy. That's all I care about. Like,
I'm and TBD too on the defensive side of the ball, but my interest is piqued if we see Tony Adams, right? He's been held out of everything despite being super young and really unproven. The staff has hyped him up from the minute they kept him over Jason Pinnock, right? Mm-hmm. And he's been really he hasn't been handed the job. He's earned the job, but he was handed the job early in camp, right? He got that job more or less right away. I don't know how much the Chuck Clark injury maybe accelerated that, but he got that job early in camp, and they have not played him all of camp. And maybe that lends to a little bit of lack of confidence and depth at the free safety position. But I'm curious if we see him for a little bit too. And really any of the defensive starters. We haven't really played many.
Right.
So
Carl Lawson's still hurt, by the way, with the back. And
Yeah.
Salas said that they were taking it easy on him, but curious.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that one either. I think that's kind of more the veteran plan. The Corey Davis stuff is curious. I mean, you never want to speculate one way or the other what's going on. I know there's in Twitter land, X land, there's a lot of speculation about a potential cut or trade candidate. I don't think that makes sense.
It would be stupid, Sliz. Let's be plain.
Yeah.
It would be stupid.
It doesn't make sense. And you're not gonna in a front office and in a coaching staff that has valued relationships, you're not gonna force them to take a pay cut right now either. Right. I've seen some of that speculation. Oh, they're gonna force him to restructure, and this is kind of him holding in. That's definitely not the case. I don't think they're trading him either. That it doesn't make sense.
This is a conversation.
You're one Lazard injury away from firing up who at
Xavier
wide
Gibson.
receiver.
I mean,
Yeah,
Randall Cobb is going to
Brownlee.
get like Brownlee. Like that's the thing, man. I think the one thing about this team is we acknowledge that the tight ends are probably going to be very good this year, right? Because Rodgers makes tight ends for the most part. Like he finds his tight ends. Hackett offense is always kind to tight ends, which is fine. And we have potentially we have potentially three very good ones with Uzama, Conklin, and Rucker, right? So you get a good vibe from that room, but Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Mecole Hardman, Randall Cobb, Corey Davis, like that's not the best room. And you take Corey Davis out of the mix, it's like that's very thin. That's very thin. And Mecole Hardman's a guy who's had his injury issues.
Yeah,
Randall Cobb is
Lazard had injuries last year as well.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's not a strong room. It's just not, and that's the one weakness for this team is that the wide receiver group is not strong. And I know a lot of people have been speculating, like, oh well, Devontae Adams, he wants out of Vegas potentially, and like, do you trade him? Like, I feel like Josh McDaniels made it totally clear, and I understand it was a decade ago. Josh McDaniels made it totally clear that he has no interest in having superstars on his teams because, I mean, he traded Jay Cutler, he traded Brandon Marshall. Like, he tried to install his own culture there. And
noted superstar Jay Cutler.
Listen, I use it loosely, but we'll say that Jay Cutler was their starting quarterback, right? And he was traded for Kyle Orton.
Jay Cutler would be the best quarterback in Jets history, by the way.
There you go. So
much maligned by Bears fans.
Yeah.
It's kind of you don't know what you
don't know what you got till it's gone. Yep. And the thing is, it's like, does Josh McDaniels try and do it again? I mean, his breakup with Derek Carr wasn't pretty, and say what you will about Derek Carr as a player, like that dude played his ass off for that team. And like, he put that team on his back. And I understand like the playoff results weren't there and the records weren't there, but you never heard a peep from him. Like he cried on the press conference stand at the dais. It's like, he really did bleed silver and black. And McDaniel said, no, you can get lost, and replaced him with Jimmy Garoppolo, who like everybody keeps saying like, oh, well, Jimmy Garoppolo is better fitted for the McDaniels offense than Derek Carr. And I'm like, what does Jimmy Garoppolo do that Derek Carr doesn't?
He gets injured.
Like that's like exactly like what
football games.
I don't understand. Like what is like Jimmy Garoppolo is a fine quarterback, like fine, but like what does he do that Derek Carr doesn't?
Yeah,
like I don't know. So
nothing.
Anyway, that's a small tangent on Devontae Adams, but we'll see how that plays out.
Another spot I'm curious to watch, and I forgot to mention it from this past game against Tampa Bay. Feels like Bam Knight had a shot to kind of prove his stuff, and I'll say didn't. Right? I think the fumble probably really hurt him. We already know Breece and Cook aren't playing this upcoming weekend. That implies that Michael Carter is. You'd assume he's probably the starting back with Rodgers in the offense. Yeah, kind of with no Izzy, Bam will get the next shot. it's kind of feels like it's maybe a last gasp for him to make a push for the roster. I'm going to be watching to see what we do with kick returner and if Bam Knight is the one fielding kicks on kick returns.
I don't
That's
want
kind
to.
of the one spot that feels like, assuming we cut Bam Knight, which feels like the odd man out.
Mhm.
I don't know if we put Gibson in that spot, assuming we're carrying him as kind of the PRKR crossover. It feels like he needs to be a lock to be the punt returner.
Let me
So
tell
it's
you,
kind of, if you're carrying him, make him do the KR as well.
Gibson's looked pretty. He's had some juice, man. Like he hasn't looked bad. So I don't know. It's a Bam Knight doesn't excite me, I guess is the best way to put it. And the thing is, it's like if you're telling me Bam Knight or Michael Carter, it's like Carter isn't as good of a fit for the run game as Bam Knight is, but Bam Knight isn't great either. So it's like
It's
I don't.
running backs don't matter, and your running
There you
back core definitely doesn't matter.
There it is. That's what we've been waiting for. So,
when in doubt, RBDM.
Yep. All eyes will be on the Snooper Bowl coming up. So,
Wait, what do you think of the Jets logo on the field at midfield?
kind of jarring, to be honest.
A little weird.
Well, the logo sucks. So,
a
like,
little weird. Yeah,
the logo's just bad. You know,
you wish
so.
you wish the season that we finally did it, we'd actually like put a logo that's worth displaying.
Yep.
So.
Yep. It's just a bad logo anyway. So it's like, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine, but whatever. All right, so let's bring it in for a landing. This is the landing strip. What's on your mind? What's going on?
Dude, so it's been hot here. If it's not hot by you, it's coming. You guys tend to get weather a day or two after me. So it's coming. It's been like 90 and incredibly humid, like 90% humidity plus. Of course, good timing. It was the perfect weekend in terms of availability to finally restain my fence. And I very much underestimated how much stain that would take. I started with 2 gallons, ended up needing 8. So definitely got a lot of sun, got the farmer's tan going, but it's done. It's good. Shout out to a paint sprayer for definitely speeding up the process. But
did you
one of those nice dad jobs?
Are you a Lowe's or a Home Depot guy?
I would be a Home Depot guy if it was closer. Lowe's is the one right by me. Do you guys have Menards out there? Probably not. I hadn't heard it till I moved out here. So we have Menards, which is kind of like the third wheel, so to speak. It's kind of more like great value brand type stuff, but Menards is usually a good go-to too. Definitely cheaper, but I went Lowe's this way and spent an arm and a leg on 8 gallons of stain.
It's not what you want, but that's the cost of being a homeowner, right?
Yeah.
Good job taking care of your fence.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's all done, ready, good, and I don't have to touch it hopefully for 8 years. That's what the paint can said.
They put a guarantee on the box. It don't mean that it's whatever. So it's along similar lines, we had our bathroom semi redone because the floor was, I live in an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, because New Jersey's a hellhole when it comes to buying property. But when we moved in almost 7 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. So the bathroom floor, the tile was, not only was it aged, but around our toilet, it was like coming up, like off. It's very strange. Like it was like leaned up, like not connected to the rest of the floor, which is strange, right? And this led to the toilet becoming jarred loose at times, like just not like stable, which is kind of a scary proposition when you're, using the porcelain throne.
When you go full Mackay at the buffet and one thing leads to another.
Relax, pal. My goodness, such a bully today. But we finally goaded the apartment maintenance staff into giving us a new bathroom floor, and it's just kind of crazy because the maintenance guy rips up our tile and he goes, "There's more tile under this tile." So some jackass contractor for a quick buck decided he was going to put tile on top of tile in this bathroom.
Huh.
And the tile underneath was from like the 1970s. So
Nice.
that was fun. But this
Nice.
all led to,
Almost as old as Ink.
yeah, almost. You know, he's got tile's got him. Ink's got him beat by 40 or 50 years. So, but this led to our first trip down the shore with Remy, where we stood at my in-laws' beach house, and that was quite the experience. Like, he seemed pretty calm the whole time. Like, it wasn't exactly a pleasure trip. It was more of a business trip, I guess, so to speak. But you know, Remy's good. He held it down. He wasn't overly whiny. His mom took him on a walk a few places, and he seemed to enjoy himself generally. So
Awesome.
you know, he might be a shore kid. He might be a shore kid, and that concerns me because I am not. I am decidedly not a shore person. So, you know, we'll see.
You're not sharp swingman at the shore. You're staying landlocked.
Listen, Sharp's over there at the Ohio State University, right? So, like, you know,
hey, he's in my country. I'll cover for you.
Yep, there you go. Do me a favor. Take care, Sharp, for me. But that'll do it for this episode of Jet Fuel, the Jets Discord podcast. Obviously, you already found us, but you can continue to find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Pandora, and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a 5-star review where applicable. It's greatly appreciated. Obviously, we're live on Tuesday nights now on youtube.com/@JetFuel Podcast. So please join in on the fun, drop comments. We throw them up on the screen. We have a good time. You can find us on Twitter @JetFuel Podcast. You can find me on Twitter @Joe Rivera SN. Sliz, where can the people find you on Twitter?
@Sliz_NYJ.
You can always send us an email at jetfueldiscordpodcast@gmail.com. And Sliz, how can the people join the Discord?
Discord.gg/NYJets. Any of our fun contributions to the show we'll pull off Discord generally. You're seeing us post them up every week. Talking games are right around the corner, man. That's
wild.
It is. It's both crazy. It's almost finally here, and it's also felt like the longest off season of all time, right? It's like I just want it to start.
You know, the thing is, like, I always think that the takes during the off season are kind of crazy, but then the regular season starts, and it's like Google just can't be stopped. Like, he's unhinged. So
week one overreactions. We get Monday Night Football week one overreactions, man, in prime time.
Oh man, I'm not looking forward to it.
Do we get Buck and Aikman? I haven't even looked that far.
Yeah. Okay. They do. I mean, we better.
They're not doing the doubleheader anymore, are they? For Monday night?
I don't know. This is a good question, actually. I'm unsure. So, I mean, we better, but you know, we'll see. So it's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a fun season. But please join the Discord, discord.gg/NYJets. So that'll be fun. But that'll do it for this episode of Jet Fuel. For Matt Soulard, I am Joe Rivera, reminding you, you can't take flight without jet fuel.